Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. So a viewer asked me to kind of go through my garages and pick out some of the top live racers in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick rundown alphabetically through the makes of the cars in Tier 5 and 4 that I would consider to be strong live racers. I don't do a lot of racing in Tier 3 and down to Tier 1, but I'll at least do some honorable mentions even of those cars. Number one in the Aston Martin list right here is the Valhalla concept. The reason why this is a good live racer is because it can be set up with low performance point high evo, which is the most dominating setup nowadays for live racing. Besides the Valhalla, another good Aston Martin for low performance point high evo is the DB11. And also, if you're able to tune it properly, the Vulcan is actually a pretty good live racer as well. However, the other ones in Aston Martin, while they are not completely terrible, won't be as easy to use in live racing. Secondly, once you move up to Audi, while the Audis are all, quote, down tunable to achieve a ability to beat dyno, they are no longer as viable in live as they were before. So Audi, I am not putting on my recommended list at this point. We're going to skip right on to the next one, which is the Bach Mono. This is another car that can achieve minimal upgrade and lots of decent amount of evo and is very controllable in live, has been one of my go-to cars for quite a while, and it is still easily a lobby killer if set up properly. Moving right along, skip the Bentleys, skip the BMWs. I did not build the BT62R, but it is a dyno beating car that is quite capable. However, it is not nearly as good as the next car in my list of recommended live racers, and that is the Bugatti Cento. This is a very good one. Both the white and the blue are capable, although the white is certainly more capable than the blue, simply because it is faster upgrade per upgrade. You can see that they're both able to be set up with over 2,000 evo at lower level of upgrades, but the white will shine more so than the blue. Moving beyond that, the Bolide is not bad. You can certainly set it up to be pretty effective in live. And the Chiron Super Sport at this level of tune actually is pretty competitive because it also can be tuned to beat dyno. However, it is not nearly as good or as easy to set up as the Cento. So the Bugattis are not all terrible. Some of them are quite good, but none of them shines as much as the white Cento would, mostly, and the Bolide as far as live is concerned. So moving right along, the next car in the list of cars that are really good in live would be the Corvette C8R, which is a natural dyno beating car if you use nitrous in 5th. You can also tune it with low performance point high evo, making the ratio effective enough to be decent in live. On the other hand, most of the Camaros are dyno busters and can be used in that format at least somewhat effectively if you have good control, particularly the Valkyria, the Dutch Boys Hot Rod Camaro. The 1LE, yes as well, but it's actually better off with more upgrades simply because it's so fast. But again, these guys, the Uncle Sam, they're all capable, and even the Quinton Brothers Camaro is a capable car, but you're going to have to exercise a lot of control in order not to get bumped. Unfortunately, the C10 Tiffany, the Copo Camaro, and some of the other wonderful cars that we would like to be good isn't as viable currently in live. With the Dodges, the most effective one right now, if set up properly, seems to be the Rides by Cam Havoc. But again, that is a tricky car to set up, and not everybody's going to have a good setup for it, but it is worth looking into. The next car is the Fast and Furious Flip car. That is a very good live racer, low performance point, high evo, tunable to beat dyno, all around a very difficult car to deal with in live and very easy to set up to win in many lobbies. The SF90 Stradale is also pretty good. Again, I have it set up in a certain way where it can beat dyno a little bit, has high evo, and can win. I'm going to skip these other Ferraris simply because while they're decent, particularly the FXXK, they're not as good nowadays in live overall. So Ferraris take up a good chunk of the lobbies, garages for me, actually, I should say. But unfortunately, most of them are just not that great right now. The Weaver Customs Twisted Mistress isn't bad, and it's a dyno buster, but it is, again, a very easy car to end up bumping and kind of ruining the joy of trying to win with it. Same goes for the Cobra Jet and the Roush Stage 3. While all these cars can be tuned to beat dyno pretty easily, or they beat dyno anyway, they're just a little too easy to bump nowadays to make them a recommended live racer. Unfortunately, in the Hennessy section, the only good one is the red Venom concept. Maybe the yellow one as well, but I don't have that one. That's a good car. This is a huge dyno buster, but again, it's under the current matchmaking too easy to bump versus this car, which can dominate in various lobbies because of the high evo, low performance point, and lobbying advantage. With the Venom GTs, unfortunately, they're not as good, even though they are dyno busters. And same thing goes for the Hondas. Unfortunately, they're just not that great nowadays. Really, the next group of cars that becomes pretty dominant in live would be the Koenigsegg. That starts with the Jesko Absolute. This is a beast of a car if you set it up right. In the higher level of upgrades, it's actually less effective, but lower level of upgrades, like what I have with the dyno busting tune on top of it, it is almost unbeatable in live as long as I choose to control it properly. People have also discovered similar setups with the Jesko itself, the Ghost Edition, the Gamera, the Jesko Red, the CSR Edition. All these are set up and capable of low performance point, high evo setups that also can substantially or at least somewhat beat dyno. The 1-1 and the Agera RS, unfortunately, in comparison, are just not as good nowadays. Not that they cannot be dyno busters. They can. They just won't be very viable for very long unless you're really good at controlling your runs. So that brings us to the Lamborghinis. And Lamborghinis have quite a few decent live racers. One of the top ones, the Cyan Roadster. And moving right along, you also have all the LB Aventadors being very effective in live. The SC18 is not bad at all. However, the other ones in here, like the Veneto Roadster, the Murcielago, the Centenario, these are not bad. They're just not as good. But the SVJ63 Roadster actually is quite effective with low performance point, high evo. The classic LB Aventador Coupe, certainly. And even the LB Silhouette can be effective once you do some elite level upgrades and can push this point down, that point up. It's still not a bad car. SVJ likewise can be set up to beat dyno, but is not as good as the SVJ 63, which is definitely better for purpose of live racing. Once you go beyond those, most of the Lamborghinis are dyno beating capable, but not really effective in live nowadays under the current matchmaking system. Lexus LFA should be an okay car. I just don't have fusions to verify it. Unfortunately, the Finner, the Lycan, they're just not that good nowadays. Veilside Fortune RX-7 isn't that great. However, the Elantra is a low performance point, high evo car. Actually is pretty effective in live. And of course, one of the top cars all around in both making RP as well as being tunable to beat dyno, as well as natural dyno beating advantage, as well as low performance point, high evo is the F1. But you want to have elite levels, preferably full elite levels, to really make it shine. But this is a very good car once you finally acquire it and build it. The rest of the McLarens are unfortunately only so-so in comparison to the F1. None of them are really super recommended by myself at this point. Not to say that they're not good cars before, or that they're still able to be used in live. They're just not as good as the top cars at this point. None of the Mercedes, none of the Nissans, except for the the elite tuner Nissans can really be tuned to be very effective in live. Particularly once you elite level pretty high, you can find both the 2017 as well as R34. You can find some decent setups where it will be very good in the live lobbies that they're in. So these are actually very good cars, and the fact that we acquired them and they're part of the elite tuner event makes it even better. Out of the Paganis, the only one that I found to be decent is the Mola, which not everybody will have, but it is a low performance point, high evo car that again has a lobby advantage and can generally win and can be set up to beat dynos somewhat. So this is the best as far as the Paganis are concerned. The rest of these, well, unfortunately, I don't recommend them. Now, moving right along, the Garrett's Barracuda is not a bad car. A little tough to maintain control, but certainly a dyno buster. The same goes for the Roadrunner, if anybody's still using that. But again, very easily bumped cars in the current matchmaking system. And that goes same for the Porsches. The 911 RWB, the Martini Racing Spider, and even the regular 918 Spider all used to be very decent live racers. But unfortunately, currently, these guys, if you use them in live racing, you have a good chance of bumping them. So that makes most of the Porsches in Tier 5, unfortunately, kind of one-sided on performance in that they're not bad, but they're not great. And the special tune that gives super high Evo on the 992 also makes it nearly impossible to drive. So that does not make it a great car currently for most people. So that pushes us into the next group of cars, the C8 Prelator, I think it's called, is an okay car, but not great. The S1, same thing, okay but not great. However, the 004C, the Tuatara concept, and the Toyota Supra, GR Supra, these are some really still decent live racers, particularly if you set up the Tuatara or the 004C properly, you can get pretty good results in live. However, not as good as, say, a GR Supra with the elite levels. Notice the high evo, low performance point. This is a very competitive setup for this car, although it's not the max setup. Moving beyond that, TSRS and TS1 GT, both are natural dyno beaters and can still be effective in live. I've heard the Evolution Coupe is good. However, I have not built one, so I can't really say much. That brings us to some of the Tier 4s. And in the Tier 4 realm, the AC Spider is a decent car, but the real beast of the bunch would be the Audi RS6 Avant. If you properly tune it, it can be very deadly in live. It also is a substantial dyno beating car. So this is definitely one of your top choices. Moving along here, unfortunately in the BMW realm, nothing really stands out. I heard the Foley Elite Veris M4 GTS can be a winner, but I have not confirmed it. However, the 2020 Corvette Stingray with some elite upgrades and full fusion at max setup actually is pretty competitive. Is it a lobby killer? Maybe not, but certainly I've had very good results with it. The Z06 is a classic glitch tune car with super high evo, but that's only if you like running in the 16-second lobby to 15.8 lobby. But it is certainly one of the classic winners in live. Moving beyond that, Dodge, I don't really have a lot of strong feelings for, other than the fact that they can beat dyno by a lot, so don't bet money against them. F40 is still competitive, although less so than before. But this one right here and this guy right here are dominating in live lobby, so long as you don't bump them and push them out of contention. These cars, this guy here and the Gold Star version of it, are both able to beat dyno by a huge amount. So by slowing down and controlling your runs, these are actually very effective in live as far as lobby control. And that also goes for the Rocket Bunny NSX, which is a natural dyno beating car with pretty high evo. Also the Aim Gain GT Purple Star, I've heard a lot of good things about, although I haven't had the chance to truly build it yet. This is a very good live racer as well. The classic LB NSX isn't bad, but it's just not as special when compared to some of the newer cars. Not to say that it cannot win, it is still a decent live racer. Evora GT430 is oftentimes overlooked. Once it's been gone as a PC car, I don't see it as often, but it actually is a good live racer that beats dyno. Just have to be careful with all these dyno beating cars. Don't drive them all out and never hit the brakes or never downshift, because sooner or later you'll bump the car into the point of non-contention. RX-7 Rocket Bunny, same issue. Good for dyno beating, bad for maintaining control, and can be rather difficult to win with. The Lancer Evo Fast and Furious is quite good. The Eclipse is quite good. I haven't had a lot of testing done with this Lancer Evo, so I can't really recommend it. But I do know that the Veilside Fair Lady Z and the Z33 Rocket Bunny, both are also decent in live. Certainly, you can see the Evo points are pretty high at a given setting. A surprise car is always this Juke R 2.0. It doesn't beat dyno, but somehow it managed to win more often than it loses, at least until you push it too hard. So this is an interesting car. Definitely worth a shot if you manage to get it to use in live. Same with the In-Attack. It does beat dyno. As you can see, it's not as a high Evo car, but if you control it well, it is still a very winnable car in live. Moving right along here, the next car in the list would be the 959 Porsche. Unlike the Tier 5 versions, this car is quite the beast in live. If, again, you ship properly, don't bust dyno too much, you'll be able to do quite well. I know the Subaru is also decent, however, I don't have it built, so I'm not putting any particular recommendation on it. That being said, 911 Carrera 4S Cabriolet, another decent car in live, has a high top speed, can beat dyno. I have faced quite a few of these in live with mixed results. Sometimes they beat me, sometimes I beat them. Certainly not a car to ignore. And that brings us to the end of the Tier 4 cars I have in my possession. The Griffith, very good in live if you control it. Again, this car can beat dyno. It has super high Evo if you drop some of the parts. Very good car in certain brackets. Jetta, same way, although most people wouldn't have it. But it also does that. Now, a honorable mention should go to the car I don't have, and that is the Ford Focus RS from Fast and Furious. That is a good car as well in Tier 4 that I don't have possession of. So those are basically your Tier 5, Tier 4 cars that are really good in live racing. Once you get to Tier 3, my knowledge of Tier 3s are kind of limited, so I really can't say as much about recommending any particular Tier 3s as a great live racer, although I do know that the Veris Civic Type R is one of the fastest and certainly would work great as a live racer, and that the Cayman GT4, not this one, I believe it's the Vorsteiner, has always been a decent one in live. But again, I'm not as keen on Tier 3 cars, so I can't really say much. In Tier 2, one of the decent live racers, if you can control it, is the 4C Spider. The A110, very good car because it beats dyno. And then moving beyond that, the Civic Type R is not bad. The Rocket Bunny MX-5 Miata can be set up to be pretty decent because it already has very high Evo. And of course, your good old Boxster S is still a decent car, along with the GTI Rocket Bunny. These are all decent Tier 2 cars that can be effective in live. And in Tier 1, of course, my Abarth Army has always done me well for winning in live. Golf GTI, Honda Civic 1.5 VTEC. These are some of the top Tier 1 live racers. Sure, the live racing Boss car is the fastest, and also the Mustang Boss 302 with full Elite is even faster. But again, from an ease of setup and depending on the lobby, I've never gone wrong with some of the first three that I mentioned. So moving to the legend cars, they're not all bad. In fact, some of them are quite decent. 250 GTO, the 300 SL, if you upgrade it with the right setup, very good. The Cobra and these guys, unfortunately, are not so good. However, NSXR, one of the top tier 4s also, and the legend car, very good in live. And as far as the T5s are concerned, both the S7 twin turbo and the XJ220 are very effective live racing cars. So that is basically my quick rundown through my garage of some of the top live racers, in my opinion. I could probably do some videos on some of these cars specifically if I get enough of a request from people. But generally speaking, if you have these particular cars, definitely build them, put fusions in, get them upgraded, and then look for a specific lobby tune for them. Most of these cars are quite good without having to be fully upgraded. So once again, any questions, feel free to ask. I hope that this list will be helpful to you in your determination as far as what is a good live racer, in my opinion. And hopefully you'll have good experience live racing these particular cars. If you have other suggestions, feel free to share them with us. I'm sure other players will be interested in knowing success that you've had with a particular car that I managed to skip. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like my videos and would like to get notifications when I put up new videos, please subscribe and hit the bell so you can get those notifications. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.